Today, it's been a while since we've done anything really in the yard. Today it's about the yard. So, we have, as you guys are aware, Yalapa. Our 3 canoes. They look pretty cruddy, but that's just cardboard. So, this is, if you remember, a recycled catchment. These panels are each one panel of a catchment. We have 2 of these bolted together. You can see I've got some nice long bolts along the way on both sides of the boat. And then inside of this, there's a bunch of big black rock that we pulled out of the yard, a layer of chicken wire, and then a couple layers of cardboard. All of which should serve as a foundation for garden soil, while also keeping things from coming up from underneath, like maybe mice. So for some raised flower beds. So this week, we got this garden soil. It's only 1 yard. It's actually kind of a small pile. I didn't know what 1 yard looked like, and I didn't want to have so much soil that I was going to kill myself trying to shovel it around. So we got 1 yard. We're obviously going to need more. So I'm going to try to get some of this into there, and there, and there. It won't be enough for all of them, but I can at least get a couple of them probably. I also want to do some work on the pond, which is holding water from the storms. We haven't had any rain, any quantity of rain, for several days. It's been pretty dry, so this has evaporated a bit. But I need to, the other day I came out and I repositioned the plastic a bit. That's going to be an overflow, but it's too low, and it was letting too much water out, because I actually want it to be a bigger pond than this. But it obviously could use a whole lot of tidying up. And so to cut off extra plastic, place some rocks around and start getting that put together. I also want to I have this mulch here, so I'm going to maybe use some of that garden soil, that yard of garden soil, along with the mulch, mix it together. And I'm going to put the first planting area back here. So what we've got back here are some plants that the Hawaiian gave us here. These are tea leaves or taro plants. They're going to get relocated. I'm not sure where to yet. Possibly just along the border, or maybe with their friends over there in the corner. I'm not sure where they're going to go. But this area back here is going to get built up, because these pretty things with the pink, those are a type of begonia, I believe. And then that's a hydrangea, hopefully a blue one. We'll see. And they're going to get planted in the corner. So I'm going to build up the soil. Well, first I'm going to move these tea leaves, build up the soil with some of the stuff from the yard that we purchased, and then this mulch mixed in to make it nice and healthy soil. And then that will create essentially what will be a grassy bank with some pretty plants. We lost Ollie earlier in the week. His age and his kidneys got the better of him, and so we had to let him go. And so he's going to be, that's his hydrangea. And I don't know if any of you know anything about hydrangeas. They make a big ball of a flower, very popular in the Northwest. But you can change the color of the bloom based on the soil. So this hydrangea, we've been told by the nursery, is a blue one. But I like the idea that Ollie will determine the color. So we'll make a hole for that and drop it in, but we won't actually take it out of the pot until we get Ollie back. And then he'll be fertilizer for that plant. And so yeah, so this area here is going to be Ollie's corner. He liked this pond. Even in his feebleness, he made it all the way from the front porch across the yard. He had to stop on that grassy bit there and take a rest. And then made it all the way over here so that he could hang out at the pond and check out the water. And he liked the grass. Later this will get fenced and a little house will go over there for ducks. And he can hang out at the pond in the duck yard. So yeah, so that's our plan for today. I'm going to shovel all that dirt. I don't think it'd be too bad. It's not as much as I expected it to be. And I want to see what I can do to trim up this side of the pond at least. Probably not the whole thing. Get that tidied up and the soil built up to accept these pretty new plants that we have here. There's 2 begonias there that'll be on either side of the pretty hydrangea in the corner here. So, off I go. See how far I get. It's kind of late in the afternoon. I don't have a lot of time to devote to this, but I'm just going to try to knock it out. We'll see how I do. There is garden bed number 1. They actually look pretty good when they got some soil in them. They don't look so bad. Our intention is also to paint these to look like little boats, because they look like little boats. Anyway, so there's one. Still got a pretty respectable pile of dirt here, but that went pretty fast. That was like 15 minutes. So I do want to get that corner put together before I worry about the other beds. As far as using some of the soil, I don't want to not have enough to get this corner done, since I already have the plants to plant. I'm going to start on that next. Progress! The hill that would behind this, I didn't actually build that hill. This deckyard was built by the Hawaiian. And at the time, I thought I was just going to put, well, I always planned on putting something there in the lawn. I asked him to fill up that corner, but he filled it up with rocks. So, all these rocks were in there. But now they are an attractive cover for the plastic. I obviously have more to do, but the tea leaves, they can grow in semi-submerged areas. So there are going to be some water plants there, and there. They're already greener. They're already happy for the water because it had been kind of dry the last few days. I've put some soil up in there. I'm going to break open this mulch compost mixture that I bought and amend that soil to be a little nicer. I've also, you can see that plastic back there. That's the overflow. So this pond, if it ever gets above, like right, that essentially that rock layer, it's not going to overflow this yard. It will go, it's got a trench that's been dug out into the forest. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave all that plastic there. I might just get a PVC and put it back there, but pipe, and put it back there for drainage. But so the rock wall there, it's not actually solid. It's got mostly openings and sort of stacked in a way that the water can still easily make it through the wall, so that this pond doesn't ever overflow its boundaries. But it is, I'm really happy with how this looks. The ducks, when they go in and out of the pond, they don't just jump into the water. They actually have to walk their little flat feet down things. And then getting back out, they have to have things to walk on, sort of step up out of the water. I think they can sort of fly out of the water, but the domesticated ducks, they can't fly. And so, not really, they can flutter. But anyway, so you have to plan when you're doing a duck pond to give them access ways in and out of the water. So all of these rocks are here with that in mind. This whole little area is actually going to have its own little ecosystem going. So the duck house will go in this corner, and it's going to have its own little catchment into a barrel so that we have easy water, clean, fresh rainwater for the ducks all the time. That barrel will overflow and cascade into the pond to feed the pond. This area here, happily, is actually just lava rock that's flat, so the water can flow over that and then into the pond and fill the ponds. And then when it gets over full, it will flow out, the overflow. The idea of this being, it will never get greenish too much. It's green right now, but that's just because it hasn't had enough water feeding it. It hasn't been appropriately set up. But with the plants growing in it, and the ducks, and the water, once the catchment starts going to actually actively feed a reasonable quantity of water to the pond on a regular basis, it should overflow into the forest and not be too super of a green pond. We're really just trying to keep the mosquito population at bay. If I have to, I can get some healthy stuff to treat it, but I'm hoping to avoid that. Anyway, that's my progress so far. I haven't planted that pretty little hydrangea there, or the pretty begonias either yet. That's next. I'll mix in that mulch, make that soil good and healthy, and then plant those plants. And then I think that's all we'll do for today, because it's already after 5. But Ollie's little corner is coming together. Alright, there we go. Ollie's corner has been somewhat planted. I can't remember if these are begonias or something like that. Anyway, I've never seen these flowers until here. And they didn't have a tag on them. But somebody at a park one day told me they were a begonia, I think. Anyway, something with a B. But nonetheless, they are beautiful. And the hydrangea in the center will, of course, grow to be a shrub. However much we want to let it grow. It's just in a pot, so I can easily lift that out for when Ollie arrives back with us. He can go in there with that hydrangea. And I gotta say, I'm pretty pleased with how that corner of the pond and how the drainage is coming together. So, and these sweet little tea leaves are so much happier. They're already brighter, already growing a little bit better with better access to water. So they may have to be lifted up a little higher, depending on what the water level of the pond ends up being. But they're happy for now. They were thirsty. So I still have a bit more soil over there to shovel into these guys. I don't want to leave it in the yard too long. The whole point of the raised flower beds is to avoid slugs and things getting into the soil. And if I leave it there too long, we'll get some slugs in there and it'll defeat the whole purpose. So, back to that shovel. Shouldn't be too bad. I think I've probably got half of it out of there already. So, I've been at this for a couple hours. Slow work. But hopefully another half hour I'll be done. Okay, that's it for today. We've got 2 garden beds. This one and this one are nice and full, ready to plant in. We've got, that looks really lumpy, like there's more soil to be had, but that's just because there's rocks under there. It's rocky, like that, with soil on it, like that. And it's okay, because ultimately we're going to put soil on it for lawn. So I'll just smooth that out later. But there's no way to really scoop up anymore without just fighting with the rocks that are underneath it like that. So let it be. That's okay. Got a pond. Is better configured with its rocky slope and some happy tea leaves in the pond there. We've got a better drainage over here. And some happy plants planted in the soil here. So, yeah, they look, actually, the pink ones, we got these yesterday. And we just left them here in the yard overnight until I could do this work today. And they were awful droopy. But they're already starting to pick up a little from having been planted in some soil and given a bunch of water. So they'll probably be okay. The hydrangea, that's a hardy plant, so it was fine. But I'm pretty pleased with these two. That's a whole lot of soil, I tell you. I'm pretty bushed. It's starting to get dark. The crickets are starting. And so it's time for me to go in. But nonetheless, always work. Always, always more to do. But that was very satisfying. I needed to just do some good hard work today to clear my head after a really painful week. And that did some good. So anyway, there it is. Progress on the pond.